All right, welcome to another episode of the Fatboy FadeAway Sports Podcast. May 16th here. We're doing a primetime edition, 9:21. We thought we'd do one later after, of course, the Warriors game here versus the Grizzlies. So obviously that's what we're gonna get into in a little bit here. We're also gonna get into what it means for with the playoffs in general moving forward, and we're gonna also look at some of the overall stats leaders in the NBA as well. So Casey, me and you tonight, rocking it on the podcast. Ready to do this?
Pick and roll. Let's do it, man. Two-man
All
game.
right. Well, you're dressed to show the audience exactly what we're about to talk about here. It was kind of an interesting matchup. Obviously, through our podcast, we've kind of been able to come in contact with some people through in the Memphis area who are also Grizzlies fans. So I felt like throughout the year, I kind of felt you know, noticed I was following the Grizzlies a little bit, just a little bit more, and so it was interesting they matched up against them for this final 8 seed. And I was thinking, Case, in the past, this would have been a do or die game, right? This would have been an elimination game. So it's not quite the same as it would have been in the past, but still, obviously, it does matter because, obviously, if you're in the 9-10 game, one loss, and you're done anyways at that point. So it was just kind of an interesting little twist going into the game there. So with that said, why don't we get into the Warriors Grizzlies here? The Warriors win 113-101. I'll let you start it out. What was your initial thoughts going into the game? What were you kind of worried about from the Warriors standpoint? What were you looking for?
First of all, I was worried just with the lack of experience that the Warriors have. They have a lot of young players, a lot of guys.
Outside of Green and Curry, of course.
Well, of course, those two. Yeah, they have championship pedigree. I mean, they've been to numerous finals. I mean, 5 straight years. It's pretty incredible to watch those two play basketball. But that was the one thing I was worried about, to see if guys like Jordan Poole, Juan Toscano Anderson, just those type of players would pick up. But I knew they have, like, I won't say a big three because that's outlandish to say. But to me, like, Kevon Looney has been a stable. And I know people are like, what about Wiggins? But Kevon Looney's been through those finals and has been through there. And he looks a lot older than he is, but I believe he's only 25.
Yeah, he is.
But
because he came out as a freshman at UCLA, but he just looks so old and he plays so old.
he's a great player to watch if you just love old school basketball.
What were you worried about from the Grizzlies standpoint? As the fan, like, what were you kind of thinking about with them in this game? Because I was looking at it as, all right, the Warriors have Curry. That's a big advantage, obviously. The Grizzlies are young. That's an advantage. They did have, they have Morant who can get hot. Brooks is kind of, it seems like he's hit or miss. They had Jackson back. And then, of course, Valanciunas, the big mother there, was able to dominate a little bit early. But, what was your thoughts of them matching up against the Grizzlies?
That was my biggest fear, was the fourth Jonas brother. I didn't know where he was going because I knew that he was going to dominate that paint. And the Warriors just don't match up with size that well, but they do. Draymond Green, hats off, man. It's, to me, top 3 defensive player of the year, if not the defensive player of the year. But the Grizzlies, just John Morant, Dylan Brooks, Jaren Jackson Jr., Bentley. I mean, I know Bentley, they say this, that, but I mean, they have a lot of role players that with a lot of skill, and they're young, and their potential is just people should be scared of them in the next couple of years. But
yeah, I brought up the box score here for people watching on YouTube here, just to kind of give you the stats for the game here. Green, obviously, he finished. I kind of wanted to get into him as well. He finished 14, 9, and 9. I thought it was important. He got off to a really good first quarter. I took some notes on that early. I thought he did a good job where he was aggressive, because the Grizzlies did a really good job, especially Brooks, who was impressive to me. I wasn't impressed with some of Brooks' shot selection, but his defensive effort is there, and he did a good job bodying up with Curry for the most part. He kind of understood what the Warriors were trying to do with him. As a result, though, he ended up getting in foul trouble. But I just love the way Green came out, and he had some tough finishes with the left hand, some shots he wasn't usually taking in the regular season there. So maybe listening to Tyler on our podcast, he's motivated. He had a little leak. Those 40 views. He got the message. Maybe he's been the one replaying him over and over again.
I did listen. I don't mean to cut you off here, but I did listen to Draymond Green after the game, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But he had a conversation with Greg Anthony and Steve Smith, and basically talking about their chemistry between each other. And I touched on it last week. Was just the uncanny ability to just know where someone else is going, know what they're doing, and you play with someone this long. I mean, you get a feel for it. And I feel like that was the one thing that Memphis had a hard time with the Warriors. Was I think they're almost just as skilled, if not more skilled, but the Warriors 2 season pros.
Well, the Warriors were able to execute those backdoor cuts a lot. I just thought the Grizzlies, the thing with the Grizzlies, and obviously, like, so we kind of followed them a little bit this year, is they were able to lay off Moran enough off the 3-point line where they basically were just allowing him to shoot it, and he wasn't able to punish him enough. And his pick and roll game is good, but until he really can make more of those deep shots, I don't see how they just don't make enough threes, and he needs to be a real big catalyst of that, especially with their wing players being there's only so high of a ceiling with Anderson and Brooks, who I thought they played pretty solid, but if you have Anderson and Brooks coming off the bench, I feel like your team's a lot better. That's just how I feel. You know what I mean? Maybe they can't pull that off, but those are the type of players where if they're your 6 or 7 guys, you're a championship caliber team at that point.
And that's on what you're saying. In this day and age in the NBA, you can't let your point guard get outscored by 30. John Moran at 16, Steph at 46. That's just not going to.
Yeah, that's just not going to work. Hey, look at Valanciunas' stat line here: 12 for 15, 10 defensive rebounds, 16 total, 29 points, and he was dominant in the first quarter. But as soon as they started going small again, that just seemed to be. They went to I shouldn't say they went small. The second quarter happened, and he subbed out. And at that point, I just felt like the game kind of changed a little bit. I also thought a small little point in the first quarter was, if you really watched the game, there was a small play where Valanciunas took a charge, or Green took a charge on Valanciunas, and I thought that kind of was a sneaky little play. They got the Warriors' momentum finally going again as well. So Warriors, pull out the win there, like we said. Wiggins, I thought, played well. Poole played well. He gave him some good energy there. What are you kind of looking forward to with their next matchup now with the Lakers? It's kind of a primetime matchup. It's a 7-8 game, it's a 7-8 game, right? Yeah, it's a 7-8 game for the 7 seed. It's kind of just this interesting little twist on the LeBron Curry, little book chapter. It's a little nugget there in their little rivalry there, and both of them were taking it seriously. I saw some tweets from our guy Savage there. He was saying that he thinks LeBron's ready to feast without Curry, without KD and Clay, and I bet he is. And he's been off. He's been on vacation for a few weeks, resting those ankles. So I don't know. What do you think? It's kind of a big game. I guarantee ESPN's loving it, or TNT, who's ever getting the game.
Oh man, they're hungry. Yeah, no, they're hungry for this one. But the Lakers did go 2-1 against the Warriors this year. The one win that the Warriors had was, I believe, like MLK, which was kind of a weird day. They won by 2.
And that was a weird game because didn't they come back in that one or no?
It was just it was a super weird game. And then the Lakers beat the Warriors by 26 and then 31, both games without AD. So I mean that's very troublesome, because especially with the Warriors' lack of height. But
I don't see how they out rebound them. That's where they're in trouble. Valanciunas killed them today. How are they going to stop AD and LeBron on the glass?
Well, and Andre Drummond.
Gasol.
Yeah, they just got to go 8 seed Warriors against the Mavericks, and just hopefully you're making more 18 threes,
basically, something crazy like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just.
So it sounds like we don't think they can beat the Lakers then. I'm glad they're getting the opportunity.
With wearing this jersey, I gotta give them a chance.
Of course they have a chance. It's just we're bringing up reasons where. So let's say we're saying the size is going to be a massive issue. the only thing that they have going is Schroeder. Is he back for this? I don't know if he is.
From what I heard, he should be off the COVID list and he should be ready to go. From what I
Okay.
heard. So
Well,
I mean, they're gonna throw some guards. They'll throw KCP. They'll throw Schroeder at him. They'll throw Caruso. But if you can get
this is where I wish they had Wiseman, man.
if you can get those mix and matches though with Drummond, Gasol, even LeBron on that tender ankle, who knows? Anthony Davis. I mean, I wouldn't recommend going pick and roll with AD, but Gasol, Drummond, those would be my two that I go after.
Can we get two-way Wiggs to step up? Can we get two-way Wiggs to have it?
He's been balling lately, man. He's had this. I love the way he's playing, man.
But I have your quote in my head of that being the worst nickname.
It is terrible. When they throw out three-way Wigs tonight with rebounds, I just can't.
All right, well, let me throw out another quick question about the Warriors. Let's just say like you had a choice. Let's say you had an imaginary choice. You could pick them to beat the Lakers, get the 7th seed or whatever, then go on to beat either the Grizzlies and the Spurs again, and they get the 8th seed. Who would you rather play, the Jazz or the Suns in the first round? Who do you think the Warriors match up better with?
I go with the Jazz only because Rudy Gobert is terrible at pick and roll. I've seen Stephen
Curry. You can't go Rudy. How can you be terrible at pick and roll with be two times?
I hate Rudy. I can't stand Rudy. I don't hate him. I against point guards, especially against Steph, I've just seen the work he's done against him.
Don't you kind of want to see Paul versus Curry in that 7-2 matchup, though?
And that's why I don't want to see him, because I know Chris Paul wants to beat Steph Curry with everything.
But I feel like Connolly plays Curry really well, and I don't want any part of Connolly, Mitchell, and Gobert and Ingles. And the Warriors will get dominated in that series. That team's way too physical. At least the Suns play up and down.
Yeah, I mean, you got that point. I don't trust seeing Chris Paul against like anyone really at this point in the stage of his career. I know people like he's old, blah, blah, but when you're that hungry right now, I don't know. I don't want to face someone that hungry.
All right, well.
The guys are still pretty young. Besides,
I do have to say the play-in tourney was a success like we thought it was going to be, like we said a couple weeks ago. It kept the NBA season relevant at the very end here. And even like the teams like figuring out the 5 and 6 seeds and just made it way more entertaining. So kept me engaged, just like kind of baseball did with that little one-game series. But this is even better. So I don't know. I hope the players agree to it because I think I like it.
No doubt. I love it. Like we talked about it last time, and it's one of my favorite things that they've done for a while. They might have to rework some things to, get it to the way the players might like it. But as a fan standpoint, I love it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Unless as a Warriors fan, and I didn't think they'd make the playoffs, I'm like, damn, we made the 8th seed. We should just make the 8th seed.
I know, but then you would get your matchup versus the Jazz there. Hey, real quick before we take a break here, I wanted to get into Curry. He won the scoring title today, just beating out Bradley Beal. Ended up with 31.8 points.
32 even.
Was that what it ended with? I'm looking at these ones right here, and I see 31.8. You got 32?
I'm going with SN.
I'll trust you. You're wearing more Warriors gear at the moment, but if you're wrong, you'll have to make a full apology on the next podcast. So anyways, he ends up winning the scoring title. He's I think the 4th oldest to win it at 33.
Second oldest.
The stat they brought up on the game I thought was interesting was Wilt, Jordan, and Kareem, and now Curry are the only players to have multiple rings, MVPs, and scoring titles. That's pretty crazy. That's an all-time great list right there. 4 guys to have that's not even LeBron or Shaq or Kobe have that. That's crazy to think about. Like Curry's in that class. And so just, I don't know, we talk about it every, I feel like 2 months, just like we got to appreciate him. He's one of a kind. He's just unreal. And so it's pretty cool to see him this year be able to have, like today, he went 15 for 36 or something like that, right? Like unlimited amount of shots. He gets the greenest of lights. The whole team is looking for him. It's like NBA Live. You just shoot the ball. You know what I mean? And it's so cool to watch. I enjoy every moment of it.
I just love how he gets 46 points, 9 of 22 on threes, and it's 16 to 36 for the game. And people are like, well, the volume of shooting. And I'm like, man, if you shot 22 threes, like that's a lot of threes to shoot. But I love the aggression. And I think you spoke on it numerous times when we've done this podcast of the aggression of I'm going to lose how I'm going to lose basically. But he's a player within the game.
Yeah, no doubt.
Some very statistical anomalies that I thought were pretty impressive, not just as Steph as a whole, but as the Warriors team as a whole. So the Warriors are 15-5 in the last 20 games. It's the best in the West. Only the Knicks are better in the NBA. Steph is averaging over those 20 games, 37.2, 32 points a game for the whole year. Like you said, and Jordan was the oldest at 34 years old to win a scoring title. And he's averaging this year 5.3 3-point makes a game, which is the most in NBA history ever. And then, like you said, joined Will.
And he broke his own record at 5.1. So he stepped it up and did it again.
And in a 72-game season, which we know players will miss games, he ended up with, I believe it was 337 threes this year, and his record is known as 402.
Which he might have broken an 82-game season. Who knows?
And tonight he had 9 threes, which almost made him to his 10th three, which is just insane. It's just
he's a one-off, like you said last week on the podcast. So I just thought we could bring up his stats. Like he's unreal, and just all the stats you mentioned, you just beautifully put out right there is just an amazing. Gosh, he's just good to watch, and it's just unreal to watch. And you know it when you hear other people saying how unreal he is to watch as well. So
I gotta add one more nugget, which is a ridiculous thing, and I did some heavy research on this, and it took me a while.
Last nugget here, you get it.
When Steph plays this year, his 10th best offense for like their team. Yeah. And when he does not play, the Warriors are the worst offensive league in the last 5 years.
Yeah, it's because you probably have Jordan pull down, jacking up all the shots. You're not in good shape when that happens. He plays well, but if he's your number one option, then you might be in trouble.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I like Will's game.
Last 2 years, that's the last 5.
Why don't we stop right there at the Warriors game here? We'll take a break. We'll come back with the NBA playoff little look ahead, and then we'll get out of there. All right, we'll be back. All right, we're back here on the Fatboy FadeAway Sports Podcast, second part here. Case, end of the season here, NBA playoff matchups we're going to look at here. There's some good ones out there. Let's start with the East. I'm going to share the screen here on TV so people at home can take a look at it here. Let's start in the East here. Let's go right to the play-in tournament here. We got Charlotte, Indy, Washington, Boston. The Indy Charlotte one is one of those NBA TV games, right?
Yeah.
That's the one that's on there with the guy you don't know that's announcing. And the guy they're trying out. The Boston, Washington, there's some good players in there. I don't think the basketball is going to be that great, to be honest with you, but maybe it'll be a close game at least. But it'll be an interesting matchup just to see Westbrook of those triple doubles. He's on fire with that, and Beal. So I mean, at least there's some names in that game a little bit. So let's just go right to the Knicks Atlanta game. That's the one that kind of intrigues me the most there. Who you got in a matchup between the Hawks, who are playing well, and the Knicks that are playing well?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to take the team in this, I'll just get right to it. I'm going to take the Knicks.
Yeah, you've been on there. You've been on them the whole year anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I was wrong about a lot of things. Obi Toppin is definitely not going to be the rookie of the year. But as we digress.
And take a number one in the draft.
Yeah. Anyways, but as the number one draft pick plays in the 10 seed, but I'll take the Knicks over Atlanta. I love Trae Young. I think he brings it every day. He's got a great float game, great step back, kind of emulates Steph a little bit. He's really talented. I just think New York's a little too big. I know they got Collins on Atlanta. They got some other players with DeAndre Hunter coming back, but and Capella as well. But I just think the Knicks, I think Thibodeau, he's played probably.
You just want them to win.
No, I really don't care.
And Rose is playing good too.
No, to be honest, I know Atlanta's playing well. Nate McMillan's taken over there after getting fired from Indiana, which is nuts. And
I just
then,
don't know if the Hawks. I just feel like. Do you think the Hawks are going to outscore them though? Because the Hawks have a pretty good offense, and like the
that's
Knicks
what I was
seem like
getting
they're.
to. That's what I was getting to. I think Thibodeau and their defense. I mean, I'm in top 3 all year, top 5, I believe, top 3, I believe. But yeah, no, I just think they're going to stifle them a little bit, make it tough on Trae Young and Derrick Rose, Julius Randle. They got some good veterans, man. They got some good players. Taj Gibson. I know it sounds outdated, but I mean, veteran presence does matter in the postseason. So that's where I'm going.
What do you think about Milwaukee and Miami? I think I'm going to take Milwaukee in that one. It's not a great matchup. I feel like for Milwaukee, they lost to Miami last year in the playoffs in the semifinals. There, Butler seems he's just a dog. You know what I mean? He just plays hard.
Well, you just said you're taking Milwaukee, so you're
I
taking.
am, but I'm just giving the counter argument a little bit for Miami. Is like they did beat him in the playoffs last year. Butler, is a tough matchup for the Bucks, but I just feel like the Bucks are. I don't know. I just feel like maybe they're just a little bit more calluses there. I feel like Holidays gives them a different dynamic than they had last year. He's a much better player than Bledsoe, and the guy and the other guy that was the point guard on their team last year was kind of a backup. So I feel like he'll make a big difference in this series. So, but I expect it to be maybe a 7-game series as well. So I'm going to go with the Bucks. Who do you got?
I got the Bucks in 5.
Okay, so you got them playing well there. So that's a
I
good
think
one.
Giannis is kind of, I won't say at his peak, but I mean he's tired of losing, man. He signed that big contract. It's his time or now. I mean, I know Jimmy Butler, like you say, he's a dog. Whole Miami team, Eric Spoelstra, they got championship. Iguodala, but I don't know. Milwaukee, I think, surrounded themselves with enough pieces this year where they can actually advance. And Drew Holiday is to me a major upgrade over Eric Bledsoe.
Yeah. Hey, looking at the schedule, looking at the Eastern bracket, the thing also I noticed is Brooklyn, by getting the 2 seed, they got a much tougher road there to the championship because that means they're going to have to play either, Milwaukee or they're going to have to play Boston or Washington, who, they should beat. But, there's some tough matchups there along the way. That's much harder than the Indiana-Chicago match or Indiana-Charlotte matchup. And then you got Milwaukee or Miami you're going to have to play before you get to possibly Philadelphia there. So, a little interesting nugget there that by Brooklyn getting the 2 seed there, but I expect them to roll through the first round here.
I'm salivating over this to Washington with Brooklyn and Washington. Oh man, I want to see Westbrook play against Durant and Harden.
Oh, that would be fun though. You're right.
Oh man,
I didn't even think about that. I honestly didn't even think about that. I don't know why.
Fun. You got nothing to lose and everything to win. Like
I know if he. Oh man, he's not gonna win. Get out of here. They're not gonna win.
Tyrese focused on other things. He just said another day he's not even focused 100% on
the cause. You need to be proud of him.
I'm just saying, like that would be I love
You're
it.
such a jerk. That's all I can say. Such a jerk. All right, so like, who do you got kind of in that Philly? What's the team here? Philly or Brooklyn? Actually, let's hold on that pick there. That's one of my questions at the end there. Let's move to the Western Conference here real quick. We got Clippers, Dallas. I saw that the Clippers kind of tanked a little bit against Houston, I think, the other night to get out of that 3 seed. Very smart because now they don't have to deal with the Lakers possibly in one of the rounds there. They get you know what I mean? That this is a small little crafty little move there where now they're in the Memphis, San Antonio, Dallas, Utah bracket to get to the conference finals. Much different than Denver, Portland, Phoenix, Warriors, Lakers. A little bit. So just a little crafty move there, I thought, for them to lose. But the series that jumps out to me right away, just because we're West Coast here, is besides the Lakers, Warriors thing we already talked about, and the possible matchup there with Phoenix, LA. That would obviously be a great first round matchup, but that Denver Portland one's going to be fun.
It'll be fun. It'll be a lot of fun, but I just don't think Denver has enough firepower, to be honest. I really don't. It's kind of funny, like how years go by, and it's like Jokic, and who do you choose? Jokic. They chose Jokic, obviously, on Denver's side. Goes to Portland, and Dame Dollar. I think if Jamal Murray was there, it would be different, obviously. But I
I'm
just
taking Denver.
Michael Porter Jr. has been playing his ass off lately.
I'm taking Denver. I'm going against you right now. We should bet something.
I know you love Michael Porter Jr., so I know that's.
And I love Jokic. You know that. I love Jokic, and I like Malone.
I think he's my MVP this year. I'm not saying that.
I love Damian Lillard too. It's a tough one, but I got to go with my boy Jokic. I got to get on that one.
Yeah.
All right, I'm glad we kind of disagree on that one. All right, how about the Clippers Dallas?
Oh, Clippers all day.
Yeah, me too. I got to go Clippers too there. I love Doncic. Maybe he pulls off the miracle, but if you're like Porzingis is going to get hurt.
I heard Doncic and Porzingis aren't even that like cool anymore, and they had Boban and Luka had like BFF sweatshirts on. So maybe that's a shot at Kristaps. I'm just throwing some air out there, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. Kristaps, I don't trust his health. He's a hell of a ball player when he's healthy. I haven't seen it yet.
Hey, Keith, let me get into my 6 questions here at the bonanza here. We'll kind of rock through them here real quick. What matchup are you looking forward to the most? Just like kind of just real quick. Don't have to give me an explanation or anything, but like, is it that Washington-Brooklyn one? Is that the one you're kind of possibly looking forward to? Is it a Lakers-Suns? Is it Warriors-Suns? Is it, what is there one that you just like, that's the one you'll be on the most?
It's funny, like just because of I wouldn't even say like the talent, but I want to see the Lakers versus the Warriors. Like, I mean, like, how cool would that be? It may be
but that's only going to be a 1-game series. I just mean out of the first round right there that we just talked about.
Well, I'm going with that. I'm just saying the first game I want to see is Lakers versus Warriors. Yeah. And then we fast forward into like the playoffs or like the actual seedings of where they're at right now. To me, I would. You gotta have the Knicks, man. You gotta have the Knicks in the playoffs. I mean, yeah, it's very young. I don't know. I think it's a good matchup all the way around.
I can't say that's not surprising coming from you. I think mine for sure, like I said, was Denver, Portland there. What's one you're not looking forward to? Oh, I think we can both agree on this. Philadelphia versus whoever. I think we're not looking forward to that one. That's an easy one right there. I'll answer that for us. All right. What team are you kind of like just kind of interested in checking out?
The first question that you just said was the SAT question. Well, can you spell your name?
Yeah, exactly. No, Is there a team you're kind of looking to kind of check out? The team I'm looking to check out is the Bucks. See how they do. I feel like it's their year in a sense, and I feel like they're the team I'm really interested in, especially with that Miami matchup. It's such an intriguing matchup. They're the team I want to see if they can with Giannis. Are they ready for that next step?
Mine's Philadelphia.
Philly. That's a good team too to pick. Doc, he always has his first 2-year honeymoon stage, and Embiid's, he's right there, like you said, probably second in the MVP voting. So that's a good matchup.
This is the best team that they've had around him and Ben Simmons.
They kind of know what each other are doing a little bit more now and trust in it.
Yeah.
And it's good to see Simmons play like that in Embiid because he's fun to watch when he's on. The player you're looking forward to watching the most. Who's kind of the guy you're like, he needs a big run, or like maybe there's just something nostalgic you're looking forward to? Is there a guy, Curry?
Yes, sir.
No doubt.
He's next to Decimus Meridius. Are you not entertained?
I think for me, the guy I'm looking at is Paul George. I'm looking to see if he steps up this year. He's took a lot of criticism over the years. He called himself playoff P. We want to see if he can deliver this year. And I feel like the Clippers kind of have a sneaking chance to get there with the way that the bracket's seated now. And I don't know. So that's kind of the guy I'm looking forward to. Kind of not even looking forward to it. Just kind of want to see how he does throughout the playoffs. All right. Favorite part of the NBA playoffs? Like, just is there something that you kind of like love? I'll give you an example for me first. I love the TNT post game when it comes playoff time. All right. That's my favorite one. And then the other part is the West Coast late night games. Some of them go into overtime and it's like 11 o'clock at night. And it's just like, you know what I mean? It's just kind of this like awesome thing, especially when we were kids, like right in that 17-year-old range there, trying to sneak into mom and dad's room, check out the end of the game, see who's winning there while they're downstairs, hopefully watching the news or something. Sorry, Mom. Sorry, Dad. That's what we did. But what's kind of, I just love those games. Like Rex Chapman, who did Rex Chapman beat on that fadeaway? Was it the Sun, or he was on the Suns, but he beat the Sonics on one, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's kind of your NBA playoff? What's the thing you like the most?
I just love how games are on, like important games are on every day, so to speak, and it just runs through about 2.5 months, and it's like the worst part of baseball. And so then once the NBA playoffs are done, then baseball gets important again. But just watching NBA, I mean, it's my favorite sport. I've said this numerous times. It's just seeing the greatest athletes play at the highest level and seeing which ones kind of, you can just see the ladder of where it goes. Like, and it like, I don't know. It just, there's something inside you as an NBA fan that like just grabs you and takes you in. Like when you've learned,
I love it.
No, and like when you've learned about the struggles and like, different players are going through this and injuries and, it's just, there's a lot that goes into that, man. And it goes through years and years. And it's just when you perform at that high level, there's nothing when you're like, when they reach that top, you're like, there's no shorting it. They deserve that 100% of the way. Like they work their ass off. Like since we were adolescents.
What's your finals matchup?
My finals matchup. Oh man, I can't be biased. I'll say the Warriors, but no, I would say I'll go with I said it, he's the greatest of all time. I'll go, and it breaks my heart to say it.
Lakers.
I can't do it actually because I'm wearing the jersey. But I'll go with Utah and Brooklyn.
That would be an interesting matchup.
Least
this is kind of a crazy one here. I got the Bucks and Clippers. That's the one I got. I got Bucks and Clippers. I think the Bucks are kind of due for a run here. I think the East is kind of set up for them to make a good run, and I feel like the Clippers, the way that the bracket folded, I feel like they can match up well against Phoenix. I feel like they can match up well against the Lakers by the time they get there, if everybody's healthy on their side. So that's the team. That's the matchup I'm going to go with. It's gonna be a good run, man. You mentioned the playoffs and when they usually start. They usually would be in the playoffs right now, but now it's going to go until July. So it's kind of interesting to see. It's just going to feel a little bit differently this year. The NBA Finals will be starting in about 2 weeks from now. So not the case here.
That was always my favorite Nana's quote. Our mom's mom.
Yeah.
Just, honey, nothing's fair except in July, because that's the fair that there's going to be. It's in July.
That's true. All right, we're gonna get out of there on that quote right there. I wanted to give a little special shout out to our guy at I Don't Know Sports. He's one of the podcasts we originally followed there. I think he on Twitter they posted that he and his wife had his first baby, their baby girl. Haven't met him before, but it's just kind of been interesting to do the thing with him, and just a little shout out to him. A little tip of the cap there. Been great following his podcast. He does a good job with it, and so somebody we kind of try to model our podcast a little bit after as well. So a little shout out to you and your wife for that, and congratulations. So we'll be back. I think we're gonna try to do one in the middle of the week, possibly after one of the Warriors matchups in the playoffs, maybe versus the Lakers on Wednesday. So we'll get this out here in the morning. And thanks for joining us on another episode. Case, see you next week. Later.
All right, man. See you, brother.
Yeah.